All right, we are live this time. uh, this is my second time. Last week I thought I was broadcasting, but apparently I was sitting here talking to myself because OBS, even though you tell it to set up for a live stream, will you have to press the thing that says go live, and I didn't realize that. Felt foolish that for an hour I talked to myself. My name is Chuck Payne, aka TerrorPUP, and for those of you who know me, know that for the last 29 years I have been doing tech. I started out many years ago. I was one of these geeky kids that hang around Radio Shack and really wanted a computer, but like a lot of kids of my generation, my parents were not middle class. They didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't get one right away. And I learned a lot hanging around the guy who actually ran the Radio Shack in Memphis off of Parkview. Was a really cool guy. And I got to the point where I actually could demo stuff and show people when they came in. When my folks did finally get enough money and things like that, my first computer was a VIC 20. And from there, the sad part is that computer only lasted a year. From there, I went to Atari. And from the Atari 130 XE, went to the 1040, which was my brother's computer, but I actually ended up getting it because he wasn't using it, and I freaking loved it. And then I moved on to Macs, and then oddly enough, I went into Linux, which is what I have been doing now for a good 26 years. Okay, got Slackware in 1997. And why am I telling you all this? Because I'm hoping you guys come and hang out with me. I'm going to be trying to do this every Sunday night, where I'm going to be talking about small board computers, a little bit of Linux, and some gaming stuff. And I figured tonight I would use the first part to introduce myself to folks who don't know who I am but have been watching the channel. So if anybody is watching, just drop a hello in the chat so I can see. But in 1997 I went to Micro Center and I bought a book on Slackware. Because I was really getting disappointed from moving into Macs and how Mac OS 8 was just horrible. I had fixed enough computers for friends who were bringing me their DOS machines that I just didn't want to deal with them anymore. So I wanted to get into something else, and I worked at a mom and pop's ISP. That's before AT&T, Comcast, Spectrum, and all those guys took over. Okay, the internet was young, it was wild. A lot of people figured they could make money at it. Avano Communications was one of those companies here in Atlanta, and I actually went to work for them. Believe it or not, it was by accident, because I actually walked into the place and was complaining about how their Mac PPP was working because I kept dropping, and I ended up talking with the owner and he explained some stuff. Me and him had a great discussion, and he asked me to come work with him and be his Mac support guy. And I did that in Windows NT, which was the two areas that I was pretty strong in at the time. And a buddy of mine named David, he actually helped me after I built my first PC install Slackware, and I freaking loved it. And then from Slackware, I went to Red Hat, and Red Hat had Real Player on it, which was a cool app back in the day. I know a lot of people after a while didn't like it, but it was one of those. It was pretty cool. So I was also, getting into IT, and because I am the type of person that I can pick up and thank you, Steve. It's great to see some people. Appreciate it. If you got any questions, feel free. But I'm one of those type of people. I have no certs, but I know a lot. And I probably, if I ever went to college and learned stuff, I'd probably be even more dangerous than I am now. But, from going from Red Hat, it was before the Enterprise Edition, I moved on to SUSE. And the whole reason I moved on to them was when Red Hat 5 came out, they removed Real Player, and I was really disappointed about that. Sorry, Google's spying on me. But same buddy at Avana Communications said, "Hey, why don't you go back to Micro Center and buy this?" He called it SUSE, but I now know the correct pronunciation is SUSE. But why don't you go buy it? It pretty much has every freaking software you can imagine. And I went and picked it up, and wow, it had like 8 discs. I'm like, what the hell is this? This has got 8 CD-ROMs, and it was like, I think I paid $50. It was a SUSE 5.3. He recommended it. At first, I was kind of mad at him because unlike Red Hat and Slackware, which were somewhat easy to install, SUSE was a fight because they didn't use a normal partitioner. They used this thing called Druid, and it took me a while to get comfortable with it. But once I learned it, I got it installed, and I was like, wow, this is really nice. And I've been using SUSE Linux ever since then. But a few years back, unlike most people, I didn't go to Ubuntu. I actually started using Debian because I needed something that is a little bit more stable. I run a few DNS servers, so Debian was nice working with SUSE, and really started enjoying that. And I'm kind of glad I did, because if you guys have been following my channel for the last 8 months, I actually been doing this channel now for 3 years. If you go back and look, there's a bunch of Minecraft videos. My kids got me into Minecraft, but I've been wanting to give back. That's the shirt. I'll move the mic for a second. My website, and it says giving back to open source, and that's what I'm going to be doing with these talks. I started noticing that a lot of the small board computers, Raspberry Pi is based on Debian. A lot of the non-brands were using either Debian or Ubuntu, so I'm kind of glad that I pick up on. So what is this going to be about? So again, that's my intro in a nutshell. So the last thing I'll say, and then we'll start talking about other stuff, is I'm a geek, not the typical term like the circus guys that hammer nails into their nose. I am a geek. I'm not a nerd. I'm a geek. And the reason I make the distinguish is I was the cool kids without the glasses with the tape and the protector. I was into D&D and I was into computers, and but I wasn't the super smart, mathematicians that most of the nerds you see that. But I'm a dad. I have 2 kids. In fact, I posted a video today with me and my daughter playing on an Orange Pi 5 with Orange OS, and letting her kind of play around with it. Years ago, I let her do a Twitch broadcast, and she really likes that. If I don't watch her, she'll become an influencer and broadcaster. So, not beer. It's actually a soda. It's a birch beer. I like root beer and birch beers, and I do like beers, but I just wanted to have something so when my get thirsty and all that, I can talk. But I'm also, like I said, a geek, a dad, and really into tech. In fact, I wanted to show you guys some of the stuff I got. So I'm going to turn on my overhead camera. And below you guys, just to show you kind of the stuff that I'm into, this is how I kind of got into small board computers. So this one here, these are wave shares, and they have Raspberry Pi 3s in them. This is the RetroFag GPI case that has a Pi 0 in it. And they were really, really cool because, I could play old games and things like that. And I am, my friends who know me know I have a large collection of PC Engine games, or as the United States, it was called Turbo Graphics, but I really got into the NEC game, and I got into these, and then I got curious. Is there other things that are out there that are more powerful? So then I got Libre Computer, Love Potato, and then from there I got into Odroid and other stuff. And it's gotten to the point where I'm probably going to need an office or a small warehouse for the number of small boards that I have. I'm constantly trying to think of stuff I can show people and explain stuff. Oh, I'm going to turn the overhead camera one more time. One project that I promise, and I am going to get the video done, is the Zimbra board with PF Sense. I've had this for quite some time now, since Christmas. The unboxing video part looks great. Installation video, because this thing uses a micro HDMI. My USB capture card had a little bit of difficulty capturing it, so I'm going to redo it, because I think it's only fair to you guys that it's done. So, and by the way, yes, this is my kitchen. I don't have the fancy studio. I don't have a bedroom where I can put things and have glowing neon lights behind me. So think of it this way. What you see is what you get. And anybody who knows me knows that there's no filter between the brain and the mouth. I'm pretty much going to tell you how it is, and sometimes that people respect that, sometimes people get upset with me. And I'll be honest with you, I'm to a point in my life that I'm too old and I don't care. So, if you guys do like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe. I'm growing up there. I'm trying to do more. I am going to get back on my Linux learning course. Work has just been crazy, and it's one of those things that you realize that you got to have an outlet. So me talking to you every Sunday night is going to be kind of a way where we can talk and I can vent a little bit. So appreciate that. Okay. And so last week, like I said, I was doing some talking, and I'm going to bring up those web pages now. So let's go ahead and take a look real quick. Oh, forgive me. I was talking with my son earlier tonight about the fact that a lot of people are using my my name. Let me switch this real quick. I thought I had it on my Brave browser, but didn't realize it was on Microsoft Edge. So this is live. We are going to make mistakes, and I do own my mistakes. Like admitting to you guys that last week I thought I was talking to you when I wasn't. So I know a lot of people will be like, but Chuck, why would you do that? That's me. I'm pretty honest. So last week, and I'm going to post the stories I talk about this week. So last week, I was talking about, because QuakeCon was going on, about the new Quake 2 remaster, which is, if you're into first-person shooters and Quake was one of your games, go revisit it. It is beautiful. Raspberry Pi was caught in a scheme to defraud card machines. So that's what the Raspberry Pi used in crime. It was the first time I ever seen that. Raspberry Pis are coming back, and I discussed a little bit. I think it's a little bit, it's good for them, but a little bit too late. I think the damage has been done because other board makers like Radix and Orange Pi, even Libra Computer, they kind of jumped in there because the vulnerabilities was gone. Red Hat, I discussed that because being in open source, I kind of think they've done something that is, excuse me, is going to hurt them. And I also discussed the fact that not only by closing off their own source are they hurting the community, but I think they've actually hurt some of their projects like AWX, which is Ansible Tower, Free IP, which is the Red Hat IDM, the Foreman, which is Satellite, because a lot of people were using Rocky and CentOS to develop those. And I did mention that Red Hat does have a developer's license that you can get for free for now, and it does give you a few seats that you can work on that. But I think in the long run, a lot of people are going to be like, okay, why should I develop all this work that you're going to put into something that's closed and make money off of it, and you're not helping the community, when we could use CentOS and these other ones and get community? I mean, think about this. Fedora is kind of their downstream, right? Everything kind of starts in Rawhide. It goes to Fedora and now goes into Red Hat. So you're going from open to close. At least when they had CentOS and they were letting people get the source material, it was helping the community, and the community was helping them. So it's going to be interesting to see if Fedora, if their other projects suffer from that. So I talked a little bit about that. I also talked a little bit about the passing of Brahm, the guy who created Vim. And no offense, the VI jokes, they get kind of old because VI to me is easier to get out of than Nano, and especially Emacs. But he passed away, That was pretty sad. And the other two stories I talked about was Debian is officially going to invest in Risk Architect with Debian 13, and Apple and Samsung are going to invest in ARM computing. So that's pretty nice to see that. Okay. Hi, Jason. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. So tonight, here's the stuff I want to talk about, and I'm going to post my stories up on my website, Ugly Press, and you're welcome to see that. So, oh, one last thing I did talk about, being someone like myself who does a lot of work with small bore computers, and I am a home labber, and if you talk with anybody who does these podcasts and stuff like that, they will mention that they have a lab. In the background, the dark room, that's where my half rack of servers and my office is. Like I said, I'm in the kitchen because if I was in there, I would have to turn some stuff off, turn my fan off, and it still gets hot. So I want it to be in an area where I can talk to you guys until I can figure out where to reset up. But one of the things I wanted to show, the sale might be over, but NVMe's are coming way down, and when I can find sales, I will share with you guys where to get this. And this was a 1 terabyte that was going for I want to say it was like $50. But click on the link in my story ad and you can see it. So, all right, tonight. So, dailymail.com, which is out of the UK, is warning Android users that if you see a little green dot on your phone, that your phone or Android devices can be using the sensors such as your mic and cameras and listening to you. So this gentleman here, Jamie Akkard, he found it, but he's like trying to warn people, don't worry about it. This is, it could be something, an app that uses voice recognition. Like you heard my my Google Mini. I think they're called Nest now, but when I bought it, it was a Google Mini. They tend to listen to that, but if you see that, you can go through and shut it off. This is interesting because a lot of the small bore computers, they run Androids, but they don't have the mics on there. But with your phones and stuff like that, in fact, I was looking at my Samsung earlier to see if by chance it had it. Okay. And no, it did not. So luckily no one's listening to me. So that's pretty good. But I never really noticed the green dot. So that's pretty cool. Which he also indicates it is something, with spyware apps. And the reason I wanted to talk a little bit about this was thousands of Android malware apps are using sneaky APIs to bypass security. If you are a subscriber to Android phone systems, over, I want to say the last year, they have been removing thousands of apps that they keep finding that has malware in it and abusing privileges. I noticed with Android 13, the permissions are a lot more secure, which I'm happy to see. The in the past they have not been this secure, so hooray for Google to do that. But in some senses they're a little bit too secure, because I know the first time I went to use Google Maps on 13, it was a nightmare trying to get it to start. In fact, I almost threw my phone out the window. Cranky old geek. Sorry, John Dvorak. I know that your trademark, but I tend to be a cranky old geek. It was really, it's really frustrating. Now, according to this article, the hackers, or actually, I'm not going to call them hackers because I'm a gray hat hacker, but the people that have designed these new viruses have figured a way to go into the APK files. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, those are the packages that you install your applications in. So they've figured out a way to put it into the APK files that most antiviruses and malware don't go through it and analyze that. So you pretty much, you're downloading the application from Google Play, or if you're using Adatone, or you download an API from some other site and you go to install it, okay, you have the possibility of getting these applications with the malware on your phone or your Android devices. Sorry guys, I should really turn my phone off. I keep hearing dings, so I was just curious. So because of that, this is a warning, and you know, I would say you should trust the Google Store, and I'm going to say you should trust the Google Store, even though they do have some of these infected apps. Okay, more than going to these third-party sites. This to kind of show you the reason why I worry about that. This is my Orange Pi 5 that I'm running Orange OS, which is a version of Android 12. And luckily, Lee PSP video had a video showed how to use the Google apps on there, or to get Google Play on there, and because of that, I feel a lot more secure about what I'm downloading. I'm not going to mention the other manufacturer that I'm doing some work with their board, but it actually came with Android 12 on it, and it's very limited on... Actually, no, it's Android 10. But anyway, you can't install Google Play on there. You can install like a third-party app store, but it just makes me cringe because it's a little bit unworthy. Hopefully I'm going to figure out how to get Google Play on there, and we can go about that. So this Joe Security is the company that discovered it, and you know, they're out of Switzerland, but so it's an interesting read. And you know, again, you should always download either from Google Play, if you have a Samsung phone or in the Samsung environment, from them, or if you're using Fire OS, which is Amazon, you should do from theirs. And speaking of using something else, this is another article, and the only reason I wanted to talk about this a little bit tonight was the fact that when I got into retro gaming, you saw the devices that I was showing earlier. gaming on Android was a big thing because you actually could use something like the Love Potato. It has an AM logic, which is, believe it or not, the S905 series. If you have a Fire TV, that's the same processor that they're using in that. So a lot of people were gravitating from, like RetroPie on the Raspberry Pi, because even though it's a great system, there's some stuff you couldn't play. Like you couldn't do your PSP unless you, your PSP unless you dropped it down a little bit, and you couldn't play like Dreamcast without a little bit of lag. So they were looking for alternatives. The NVIDIA Shield was one of those that a lot of people recommended to go to. A buddy of mine, he had a system that he actually liked that was Android based called, I want to say it's AYA. They're defunct now. And I felt really bad for him because it's one of those, he got it, he enjoyed it, and like I said, they went defunct. I actually still have, and it's getting up there in age, but I actually bought one of Amazon's Fire Gaming TV editions, and I freaking loved it at the beginning. I could play Minecraft on it. Gamefly actually had a subscription service. I wish they didn't cancel it. It was way ahead of its time, but you could pay a monthly fee. You logged into the app, and you could play a selections of games. I know Google tried it with their Stadia. In fact, now defunct. Amazon's doing it right now with their Luna. In fact, I have a Luna controller. So they were way ahead of their time. But getting back to the NVIDIA Shield, they're talking about this, and I was reading through it, and they're talking about how, this came out in the last edition they came out was in 2019, okay? And at that time they had Android 12, and then the latest, now the guy, I don't know why he quoted it, but he's saying the latest is Android TV 11. 13 is out, so maybe 11's what's the latest on the Shield. But I know a number of people that talk about the Shield and how it is great for gaming and stuff like that. Radix Rock 5 actually has an Android 12 edition that's on there. I've been using it. The gaming is not, there's not like a lot of libraries, like a lot of primetime games. There are retro games on there, and I really like to take a look at that. I have a buddy, his name is Steve. He actually has this thing called Slash TV, and I should demo it and show you guys. It's based on Android TV. This is show you what I'm talking about when people are doing their gaming. Again, nothing against RetroPie. It's just that the Raspberry, the Broadcom processors that they have in them are not, they're slow. Let's just not beat around the bush. They are slow. The Android, I get it. They're building, well, they were building their boards for students to learn stuff, and then they went to commercials, but hopefully they'll go back to it. Android's really got to up their game because, not Android, Raspberry Pi really needs to up their game because unless the Pi 5 has something radical, I got a funny feeling it's just going to be some maybe a little bit of a newer Broadcom chip and some other stuff, and that's it. I mean, that's kind of why I've really drifted away from them. When I wanted a CM4 because I was wanting to do some work with those their processors, I couldn't find them, and they went to commercial. There are others out there, but anyway, getting back to this, a lot of people use the Shield, and they're talking about that, and there is a possibility of it upgrading. Okay, now again, I just wanted to talk about this because a lot of people who do small bore computers, they will mention, most of them will mention that they have a Shield or Android TV. I actually have Walmart's own streaming device. I've actually am now kind of liking it and the Fire TV over the Roku, just because the menus are a lot better. And especially Fire TV. God, Fire TV, you feel like you have a little cable device in your house with the live TV. I wish Roku would do that. Put their little live, like all their little live TV stuff there, and you can watch it. But anyway, which is leading into the next story, where Orange Pi 5 support nearly a mainline Linux kernel. Why is this significant? Well, for those of you that don't know much about the kernels that are used, like with the Orange Pi, the Radix 5, and some of the other boards, it's not really a true Linux kernel. It is a kind of modified Android kernel that they're using to get these boards up and running. So for Orange Pi to get closer to a mainline Linux kernel, that's phenomenal. That is something that's going to help them and be able to run more apps and things like that. So when I saw that, that's pretty cool. And the boards from Orange Pi they're in a good spot, because you can get them from anywhere from $90 up to around 150, and that means they are going to be rocking the market with a kernel that is close to the mainline or the Linux kernel that most x86s are using, and not this bastardized Android type like kernel for the boards. And that's going to open up a lot more stuff for small board computers. So great job, guys. I'm excited to hear that. Would love to hear if anybody, what other people think about that. Okay, because that is pretty good. Okay. Next, talk a little bit about gaming. Another game that I've gotten into is Fallout. A lot of my friends know that, and I was really shocked to see this, but Bethesda's Fallout 4 is now available for DMR free from Good Old Games. Okay, for those of you that don't know GOG or Good Old Games, they are famous for releasing older games, working with DOSBox, and pretty much when you buy it, there is no DMR on it, okay, digital rights management, okay, and this is phenomenal, because as someone like myself, I understand why people want to do the copyrights, restrict it, but if I purchase something, I know tonight it's probably a lot of editorial stuff, guys, and I apologize for that. But I, as someone who buys something, I want to be able to understand that I own it. That's why I don't like, I'll be honest with you, I don't like buying movies from Google or Voodoo or Amazon or any of these places, because if Sony comes back and decides they no longer want people to have that. In fact, speaking of Sony, their ultraviolet, I lost a lot of movies when they decided, hey, we're not going to support that anymore, because I bought a lot of movies. I put in my code, and the movies were there, and it was nice. I could go up and watch them. And then one day I get a notice saying, hey, we're moving all your stuff over to Voodoo. You need to move it. And I missed out, and I lost quite a number of digital stuff that I had up there. And I know Disney has announced that they want to get rid of their CDs and stuff like that. And I am not a fan of that. I would rather go to Target or Walmart. I know most of them don't carry Blu-rays or DVDs like they used to, but I still would like to go in, put my money down, and walk out with a physical copy of what I own. Same with like books. I'm not a fan of ebooks. If I'm going to buy a comic book, if I'm going to buy a book, I want it to be a physical edition, because essentially people don't realize this. And I'm surprised the EFF hasn't picked up this call, but essentially what you're doing for these folks is you're putting money down in their end user agreement. You're more or less saying that, hey, even though I think I'm buying this, I'm actually paying you a long-term rental agreement until you decide that you no longer are going to give me the rights where I can own it and use it anymore. Which sucks. Now, there is a downside to owning physical material. Discs that break, and they don't easily break down, so they're going to sit in landfills for millennials. They're earlier DVDs and Blu-rays and laser discs. There's this thing called I'm forgetting it right now, but essentially the disc will separate because the oxygen gets in there, and the disc is ruined because you can't read it anymore. So you do have those. The one thing I will say, though, going from these different medias, that one thing I have noticed is we've lost a lot of stuff. I know watching Talking Heads, Jeff from Crafting Computers, he was mentioning that the Internet Arcade is under attack, and which is sad, because I think they've saved a lot of stuff that we could possibly lose, and we're going to lose more stuff. But anyway, getting back to this, if you have a GOG account, you like Fallout, and you want to have it where you can go play it at any time, and wow, it's currently discounted for $10. I paid $49.99 for my son's Xbox Game of the Year edition, and yeah, $10, that's not bad. So I would definitely hop on that and get it. And there's all kinds of mods out for it that you can play with. One of them that I really would like to get when it's fully vented is, I want to play the London game, because I've heard a lot about that. Excuse me for a second. I like birch beer because, well, I love all root beers. Shouldn't really be drinking it because, anyway, it's going to raise my blood sugar, but at least it's made with cane sugar. But anyway, that's one to get. And Fallout 4 was pretty impressive. I'm probably one of the few folks that you will meet that I actually kind of like Fallout 76, but I played it about 3 years after it was released, and I got it when it was like they got a lot of the kinks out of it. Again, go check out good old GOG. They have a lot of great stuff. They actually have some stuff that runs on Linux. They're not as well, I can't say that about Steam, but anyway, I've had better luck with GOG than I have with Steam. Okay, so all right. The next thing I want to talk about, like I said, I'm going to be talking about products. And Kasada, who makes all these really weird looking boards, and the reason I say they're weird looking is they're not the same format as most people. Most board makers either tried to make it like a Raspberry Pi 3 or a Raspberry Pi 4 form factor. Kasada does their own thing. The only other company does their own thing is Odroid. Okay, but Kasada is coming out with this portable workstation that looks phenomenal, and I would love to test one. I wanted to show you guys this real quick, that it's modular. Kind of reminds me of Sun's workstations in the early days back in the mid 90s. A lot of their stuff was modular. And just check the specs out real quick. It's going to have a 13th Gen Intel Core i7. It's going to have two M2 NVMe PCIs, and they're going to be 4, so that's pretty impressive. Up to 4 terabytes, so you could have 2 terabytes in each, but I guarantee when they come out with larger sticks, you probably could support more, unless, of course, the BIOS locks it down. LPDDR5 RAM, and up to 32 gigs. Hopefully that'll get up there, because people like me who are crazy and want to do virtualization, we like to have more memory, but this is probably not designed for that. With a standby battery, which now you're kind of talking about laptops. It's not really a portable workstation, and it's going to have the Iris Xe graphics in it. So Kasada, this is one of their new products that they're coming out. It looks phenomenal. Hopefully I can get one day and play around with it. If you don't know Kasada boards, they go check them out. They got a lot of cool things. I don't have it here in front of me. In fact, I actually thought I was buying an M2 expansion board for my I do have it for my Vim S1, but then I I gotta really pay attention. This is actually for Vim 3 or Vim 4, but it's so light, compact, and their cases, like I said, they're really nice. And some of the stuff I play around with. Okay, guys, last thing I want to talk about is quantum computers. And China is way ahead of us on this. They're fixing to introduce the largest quantum cloud computing platform. And China Mobile, they're showing off this. And it's just amazing the stuff that they're going through. I was reading that there's actually there's still a lot of regulation, even though these guys make most of our the hardware that we purchase and stuff like that, there are still tariffs in place on stuff what they can and cannot buy. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for tonight. Please leave a comment in the section below if you liked it. Let me know what didn't work. What, you know, I probably put a lot of people to sleep. So if I'm better than milk, say, let me know. I will be back next week. We'll talk some more small board computing, gaming, and other geek things. Please check out my my channel. As you guys can see, I have a number of stories and boards, and there are some stuff that I am following up with, like the Banana Pi R3, the installation guide. I was a little bit disappointed that the installation is very CLI. There was like no GUI, and I think if I can figure out how to get the GUI working, I could let them know, because GUIs are a lot easier for the general public, and if you're going to sell stuff for the general public, you want to make it as easy as possible. So I am going to follow up with that. I am still going to get a G4 card for it. One of the companies that's here in America, American Droid, maybe I can ask them to be a sponsor and let me have the board, but I'm probably asking too much since I don't have a lot of viewers this yet. But I am going to do the G4 because I would like to make this board portable, and if I can get a G4 card, I can use it with other products. UE2 has an x86 board coming out in September, and I'm hopefully going to get one of those. I'm going to purchase it and play around with that. I don't have many x86. Well, no, I have two Zima boards. Believe it or not, one of them I will do a video on where I'm using it with Linux game server machines. And again, this was my PF Sense board. I'm going back and redoing some stuff because I was having some issues with it. So I'm hoping things like this. This is an Asus USB 2.5 adapter that I can use this. I'm finding out a lot of the 2.5 stuff is actually Realtek, and the drivers on the board are Realtek. And I have updated the drivers, but I was having some really weirdness, like if my son who lives with me would suddenly download something from Steam, apparently all the internet in the whole house would just drop. And I did update it. We ran this PF Sense on the Zima board for about a month. So anyway, it was one of those that it was really baffling. I had to put my Lenovo that my friend gave me back in place because yeah, it just kept acting weird. So I'm gonna set this back up. Luckily, I have enough static IPs. I can put this over on another one and run it. Okay. So yeah, thanks guys. I am going to be doing this. This is probably a real rough one tonight. Please let me know what you liked about it. I have started a Patreon group. It's in my bio. I'm looking for producers, so if you want to help me out, give a little funds, I will add you as a producer going forward. I was holding off as long as I could, because that way I can, buy what I can buy. But this stuff is not cheap, and there are new boards coming out all the time, and there are projects. So until I can get like hopefully one day I can get a sponsor, that will help me where I can buy the toys that I can show off to you guys. I can. But anyway, again, my name's TerrorPUP, aka Chuck Payne. And I appreciate you guys coming by UglyScale Press, the Weekend Tech. And I will be back next Sunday night. Thank you guys. And I hope that the rest of the beginning of your week is awesome.